Are we heading for a perfect storm? Some people say we might be, thanks to the turbulent mix of protests, parades and challenges to policing. With the marching season approaching, our correspondent Martina Purdy has been looking at the issues facing the police and the politicians and what the Orange Order might do next.
The 90s, when tensions over the right to parade and the right to protest reached breaking point. Officers did their best to take cover until some shelter was found. A new parades commission to take unpopular decisions out of the hands of police. But the commission was never popular with the Orange Order.
The Parades Commission was brought in as part of the Republican shopping list for the peace process. They demanded a Parades Commission following Drumcree as one of the prices of peace, and that was delivered.
Now there's a new challenge, the weekly protest march into Belfast city centre over the flags issue.
No further warnings will be given.
But the Parades Commission hasn't bothered to rule on these marches. Why? Because it sought legal advice and was told that it didn't have the power to rule on marches where no one had bothered to notify the police first.
I think the police are left, as ever, holding the parcel in all this. So the police are left at the end of the day to deal with what happens on the streets, however violent it becomes.
The police are saying they can't stop a parade if it's not notified. And although it's illegal to take part in such a march, police have been reluctant to act, concerned with public safety and other human rights legislation. While more than 100 people have been charged with taking part in flags protests, only 2 have been charged with taking part in an illegal parade.
Police are simply appeasing the protesters and the rioters in many cases by saying you can literally do what you like. You can stop the business in Belfast every Saturday. You can march down Chichester Street, you can march across the bridge. Now, you can't have that in a civilised society.
Recently, the Chief Constable told MPs that the Parades Commission was being undermined of late. It's understood this raised hackles inside the Commission, but others think he's out of his depth.
I fear that this is the wrong Chief Constable at the wrong time. I don't think that he's got the skill set to deal with the divisions in Northern Ireland. I don't think he's got the skill set to cope with the operational demands that there are. I think he's been too slow in calling for additional resources, and I think that he's far too idealistic for the rough and tumble of Northern Ireland society.
Critics say the Secretary of State should have acted by now.
Where I think the police are wrong is when they say there is no such thing as an illegal march. Yes, there is, if the Secretary of State bans the march. And the Secretary of State has been in hiding for 3 months. I couldn't say on camera what I think of the Secretary of State's attitude. This Secretary of State gives me the impression that she has no idea what is going on here or what is likely to happen here. She looks like a doe trapped in headlights.
But there are concerns banning a protest march will lead to more trouble, and fears the police don't have the resources to back up such a decision. A resident of the Short Strand is taking a legal challenge against both the Secretary of State and the police, claiming they're allowing illegal marches to take place. A decision isn't due until April, however.
The 2 things the Secretary of State needs to do urgently is to reform the Parades Commission to make it more open and transparent, and to make it more proactive, and to make it more relevant, and to override the opposition from the local politicians who have failed to come up with an alternative themselves. The second thing she must do is to take urgent steps to increase recruitment to the police.
Now the Orange Order, which wants the Parades Commission scrapped, has its own message for the Secretary of State.
She'll have to get off her hands and do something about the whole Parades Commission and where we're going with that, and take a lead rather than sitting back and waiting for something to happen.
Whatever she decides, it's clear the Orange Order may be about to exploit political deadlock and the weaknesses in the system in a year when the government is hoping for stability as it plays host to the G8 summit here.
We will do what we need to do to get our parades and our culture celebrated in a way which threatens no one.
The View has learned the Orange Order is considering changing tactics and may stop notifying the police about their own marches.
We'll seek legal advice, and that could be a possibility, yes.
Why?
simply because you fill in the form, you could get charged with an offence. You don't fill in the form and you're not committing an offence, other than if you broke some other law. So what would be the point in filling in the form? You could end up with a criminal conviction.
Actually, it would be an offence to knowingly take part in an unnotified parade. What's more, might the police find it easier to identify those organising an Orange March, making prosecution of the Orange more likely than, say, a flags protester?
That's a point that barristers are going to make a bit of money on over the coming summer.
Little wonder, then, that the Assistant Chief Constable, Will Kerr, is warning of trouble ahead, a view echoed by others.
It's quite possible that it will be the worst marching season for a long time.
I fear that this summer is the most dangerous we face, the most uncertain since August 1969.
Sadly, the mood music isn't good for this year, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to work to make for a peaceful summer.